This is Egypt, near the Nile Delta. In 525 BC, a battle was fought not far from here. It was the Battle of Pelusium. The fate of Egypt hung in the balance. The forces of the Persian King Cambyses II invaded Egypt and were met by the Egyptian forces and their pharaoh, Psamtik III. The battle is of great importance since it marks the end of Egypt's independence as they suffered a brutal defeat. 50,000 Egyptians are said to have lost their lives during the struggle, but it is also one of the earliest forms of psychological warfare to be recorded. The sands of Pelusium were littered with bones several decades after the battle. This is said so by Herodotus when he visited the site, but what led to such an outcome? Herodotus tells us of the events that led these two great nations into bloody conflict. In the reign of Pharaoh Amases II, father of Psamtik III, negotiations broke down with Persia. An Egyptian physician was sent to the Persian court in goodwill to aid Cambyses with an ailment, but this physician resented the forced labor that Amases had imposed on him. The physician purposefully nudged the two empires closer to war. He convinced Cambyses to ask for Amases' daughter's hand in marriage, knowing that Amases would never accept such a proposal. Amases didn't want to marry his daughter off to a Persian, but he didn't want war either. So he sent the daughter of the late pharaoh Apries, whom Amases had succeeded in civil war. Upon arriving to the Persian court, she told Cambyses of the plot. This infuriated the Persian king, prompting an invasion to be prepared. Adding to this and solidifying Cambyses' expedition, there was Phanes of Halicarnassus. He used to be a member of Amases' council, but over a quarrel with the pharaoh, he defected to the Persians. This man was just one of Egypt's most prominent tactical advisors, and it was a great loss for the Egyptian side. Following the breakdown of negotiations between the two empires, both began preparations for war. The Greeks of Cyprus, a relatively peaceful island of the coast of Syria, then the Persian Empire, had been traditionally friendly to the Egyptians, aiding them in war. But this time, they defected to the Persians, bolstering the king's armies and fleets. 6 months before the invasion, Pharaoh Amases died, leaving his unprepared son Psamtik III to inherit a civil war-torn empire and the incoming Persian invasion. Despite Egyptian preparations, the Persians marched through the Levant, facing little opposition other than the city of Gaza, which fell after a long notorious siege. Soon, the Persian host was entering the Egyptian heartland, and so the Egyptians took the field by the town of Pelusium. The strength of both forces is unknown, but it is estimated that the Persians had a larger army, bolstered by Arabs and Greek mercenaries. The number is probably around 100,000 for the Persians, perhaps 70 to 80,000 for the Egyptians, but that's my guess looking at the Egyptian losses. Advised by Phanes of Halicarnassus and using his knowledge of Egyptian culture, Cambyses came up with a cunning plan. The Egyptians were very fond of certain animals. Their deities, such as Bastet and Anubis, had the heads of animals. Bastet, a cat, and Anubis, a dog. But there are others like Horus, Hathor, or Sekhmet, each representing a different animal. These animals would be sacred within Egyptian culture, and the Egyptians would go to great lengths not to hurt them, as it would bring upon them the wrath of the gods. Polyaenus, a Macedonian general, claims that according to legend, Cambyses had his men carry the sacred animals in the front rows during the attack. Most of these animals would have been cats, but there would be cows, sheep, and dogs as well. The Egyptians on the field dared not shoot their arrows at the enemy in fear of wounding the animals, giving a great advantage to the Persians. Some of the Egyptian men refused to fight outright, and when the Persians came close, they faltered and ran or simply surrendered. Others still fought, but seeing many of their countrymen routing, they eventually fled the field. Soon the pharaoh's army was in a mass rout. What came next was a massacre for the ages as the Persians pursued. The city surrendered at that point. By the end of that day, 50,000 Egyptians laid dead on the field, a stark contrast to the relatively low number of Persian casualties, estimated to be around 7,000. The surviving Egyptians fled to Memphis, but were later besieged and conquered by Cambyses. Historians still debate the veracity of Polyaenus' accounts. The logistics of procuring and using these many animals on the battlefield are quite dubious. But for cool points, it's absolutely a truthful account of events and cats won the day. It was a catastrophic defeat for the Egyptians. It was a perfect plan. On the other hand, for realistic points, I have to tell you that the most widely accepted theory is that the Persians simply painted these sacred animals on their shields in an attempt to demoralize their already numerically inferior foe in a bid to limit the bloodshed for their side. But then again, hear me out. Where did they get the paint for tens of thousands of shields? Am I right? I'm obviously just kidding. In the aftermath of the invasion, Egypt was annexed, and Cambyses was the first Persian pharaoh of the Egyptian 27th dynasty. Well, did you enjoy this breakdown of the Battle of the Cats? I like that name better. Then you'll probably like the videos currently on your screen. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. I have been Wolf. Stay wonderful, of course, and I'll see you all on the next one.